All right. Good morning, everybody. Wednesday, April 29th. Running out of April here, getting into May. Been busy, busy, busy. Finishing up. Let's see. We got five deals closed. We got another seven that we're in the process of. So April was a great month. And boy, I just got some other good news I'll tell you about in just a minute. But welcome to another Water Cooler Wednesday, and we have moved the time to 10 o'clock instead of 9 o'clock. Gives me a little bit more time to prep. And I do have people all the time saying, "Well, how do you come up with all this different stuff you talk about? Which can be tough. If you're in front of a microphone, in front of a camera enough, you kind of think, gee, did I already talk about this? Did I already do that? But the reality is, I do this every single day, and everything I talk about is just something that's fresh on my mind that I was just working on. So the material just keeps on coming. That's what happens when you're in the business. So joined as always by Dwayne Gibbs. Dwayne, what's happening?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. I like the extra hour, I have to admit, because a lot of times I'll get up and I'll think about it overnight and go, oh, yeah, this might be a good topic. I'm trying to, get everything done and put on a PowerPoint. 9 o'clock was pushing it for me. So
I was on
this
a call this morning at 8 o'clock and it ran until 9. I'm like, oh crap, I got to get off. Then they were like, no, no, no. I thought you changed your time to water. I'm like, I got another hour.
yeah, yeah. So it's nice, and we do rebroadcast these. I'll rebroadcast it on X. I forgot to do that a couple times, by the way, Dwayne, and I got a message through X from somebody going, "Hey, man, where's the water
Where's your
cooler?"
stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm like, "Oh, I forgot to upload it. Thank you."
that's
But
my
yeah,
slipping.
yeah. So I'll do that, and also rebroadcast full video on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, look up my name, subscribe to the channel, and you'll see everything there, including my tips of the day, which there's hundreds and hundreds of those, probably over 400 of them. The water coolers are on there. Sometimes some long case studies are on there as well. And also the podcast, Real Estate Without Renters. This is rebroadcast audio only on. You can check that out as well. And it's wherever you get your podcasts. So, and this one's probably going to be helpful a little bit on the video side, so I'd encourage you to check that out on YouTube. And reason being, we're going to talk a little bit more about math. And sometimes people stumble on this, and with the assist of AI this morning, I think it's laid out pretty darn simple. So everybody should be able to follow this. And it's the basic math of return. And I'm talking about this because we had somebody who was looking to sign up with us. We have a consulting level and an elite level, and I sent them a typical case study video, and just real simple, 5 minutes going through, show the math and everything else, and they came back saying the math doesn't make sense. Okay, the math isn't mathing, so to speak. You're only making a 7% return on this. And I'm like, okay, I know exactly what they're doing. I know exactly what they're doing wrong because it's a 12%. In fact, it's a little over 12. It's an over 12% return. You're doing the wrong math on this because you don't quite understand notes and what they represent. They represent really an annuity, a long-term annuity that is amortized, part principal, part interest. You can't do just simple ROI calculations or cash on cash returns like you're used to in other investments. It doesn't work. So the math that you're doing is incorrect. And I think that's a big stumbling block for most people. They just don't get it. Now, as we talk about yield, I also want to caution you, as Dwayne would say the same thing. Don't get so hung up on yield that that's your sole decision maker because you will live and die by yield. I'm telling you right
Uh,
now, if you're just become a yield hunter, at some point in time, you're going to become the hunted and you're going to buy into a bad deal and you're going to lose because you didn't pay attention to the other variables, such as discount and more specifically, investment to value ratios. That's where you get hurt on these things. So you can't just look at yield, but certainly yield is one of the things that we must look at, not the only one of. So as we go through the math, I'm going to start by showing you the right way to do it, the way the banks do it, the way the finance world does it, because it's the correct way to do it. And I'm going to show you the wrong way, which there's about three common wrong ways that people look at these deals. And if you can't get that math and that understanding, it's highly unlikely that you'll even get going in the business. And the whole time, it wasn't the business that was off, it was your math. Okay, so it is important to understand that. But I'll tell you this also, once you understand the math and how easy it is to do with tools that we have today, such as a financial calculator, such as Excel, such as AI, it becomes really simple, to do the math here. So that's what we're going to jump into today because it's fresh on my mind. I actually use this to send to the other party by email just to say, here's your math and here's where you're wrong. And then it dawned on me. I said, well, this is a perfect lesson really for everybody because I know this person wasn't the only one to look at it that way. So I'm going to share my screen here. And for those who are listening only, I will do my very best to describe in detail what we're doing here. So let's make the math a little simple here. So I'm going to use a real example. In fact, it's an example that we showed on Watercooler Wednesday. If it wasn't last week, it was a week before, sometime this month for sure. I went through a case study. So I'm using the actual numbers from that case study. We're buying a note for $30,000 even. And that's actually what we're buying the note for. So a nice simple number for us to work with. So we're buying this note. The note's been well seasoned. This note goes back to 2011. There's still 210 payments remaining. So there's just about 17 and a half years of payments remaining on this note. So we're buying what I would call a very well seasoned note with a lengthy payment history. And the payments that we would start to receive in May are $349.71. I'm going to say $350 a month for the rest of this, so it just makes it simple for everybody. Okay, so the balance on the loan is $34,636. That number probably won't come up that much. Bottom line is this: we are paying $30,000 to receive $350 a month for the next 210 months. That's it. Okay, so to summarize, I had a slide on that already. And I did describe this years ago, and I think it makes sense. If we're putting $30,000 into a money printing machine, and that money printing machine spits out for us 350, again, I'm rounding up, $350 a month every single month for the next 210 months, what would our return be? That's all we're trying to calculate. Right? So how does that work? It's a yield calculation that we're doing that works really on a bit like an internal rate of return. Okay, that's really what we're looking here. And this is exactly how the financial world does it because it is the right way. It considers all things in these type of income streams. Okay, so we call that a yield. In our industry, we typically just refer to that as a yield. Some people will refer to it as an internal rate of return. Okay. We typically in our business refer to that as the yield. What is the investor's yield? And it truly considers the time value of money. And that's what a lot of these other calculations fail. All right. We don't, in other words, receive all of these payments lump sum. We're receiving it over 210 months. So each payment with present value is worth something different. Okay. So if you didn't understand that, just hang with it. I'll make it easy for you. Now, the formula on this is going to look Greek. All right. So if you are watching the video, you're looking at that formula going, oh, good God, what do I got to do here with this formula? Present value equals PMT times 1 minus 1 plus R in parentheses to a negative 9 divided by R. Okay. So that is, if you want to see the true formula, that is it. The good news is we don't have to know how to do that type of math because we have a simple tool called a financial calculator. And in the financial calculator, it does that same formula. And all you have to do is put in three things and calculate for the fourth. So what we're trying to calculate is our yield or our investor I/YR on a financial calculator, or interest per year, that is our yield. So to calculate the yield, we have to know three things, which we already know. How much are we paying for the note? $30,000. How many payments are we receiving? 210. And what's our payment amount? Now rounding up to $350 a month. That's it. So 350 a month, 210 months, $30,000 invested. What is our return? Okay, and you'll see on the screen there it's 12.36, and I'm using the precise $349.71. So that same complex formula that you look at is made very, very simple with the financial calculator. It also can be done through Excel. If you're doing this on a spreadsheet, or today with AI, you can simply to ask it what is the yield or internal rate of return, and it will spit out the number for you using these
Check the
same
math.
calculations. Okay, so
Check the math.
yeah, so pretty simple. So what this formula does is look at all of these cash flows that are coming in, and it calculates a monthly yield, which is then annualized. Okay, which makes sense. Okay, that's the true return on investment that you are getting. Now, because we buy these at a discount, our yield will be higher than the so-called coupon rate. That's another area where people get confused. They look at, well, this note's only written at 7%, so you're only making 7%. Not if I'm buying it at a discount. Okay? Where a lot of people get hung up is they're taught mostly in math and finance and business, if I invest X number of dollars today and I get Y number of dollars next year, what was my return? What's my compounding interest? Discount is working backwards to that. Okay. And again, you don't have to understand that. The financial calculators do that for you. They do that math, and everything is considered. That is your true return. So if we're buying a cash flow where they owed on this one $34,363 and we're only paying $30,000, we're still getting the same number of payments for the same period of time. So inevitably, our return will go up. The payment doesn't change. The interest rate paid by the borrower doesn't change. They're still paying 10%. Their monthly payment is the same, but I made more money because I bought it cheaper. And that's that whole time value of money concept. And when I'm teaching this at a live class, I'd use a live calculator and just show you how the math works. And you start to see how easy it is. It's just the mindset that you have has to go, oh, that is the correct math, not the simple ROI calculation that I was trying to do. That is what's wrong. So once you surrender to the fact of this is the proper way to consider not only the time value of money, but also the fact that we're getting part principal and part interest every month. And that number changes every single month. Okay. So these are different than just I put money into a CD and a year later I made, 3% interest, and I just took my $30,000 investment and I got 3% of that. These are quite different because we're getting money every month. Okay, so we have to account for all of these different factors, and that's what this formula does, okay, mathematically. So here is why other calculations fail. They ignore these same things. They ignore time value of money. They forget that we get every month a portion of return and principal, and the payments will eventually stop. So some calculations consider those payments to go on forever. No, they eventually stop at 210 months. We have a deadline. So we have to look at the deadline. We have to think of return of principal every month, and we have to consider time value of money. All the other formulas, except for the one I just showed you and talked through, they ignore that. So if they are ignoring that, they are by default mathematically incorrect. Okay. So mistake number one. This is really the most common one here, I think, that we run into, Dwayne.
Yes.
People do the math of, okay, the monthly payment is $349.71. They multiply that times the number of payments, $210. Okay, simple math, right? You don't need a financial calculator for that. You're just doing this times that. Monthly payments times the number of months equals $73,439. Well, if we subtract out the $30,000 that we invested, that means we made a profit of 43,439 bucks. Well, you take the math, and that's 144%. Divide by the 17 and a half years, and you made 8% per year. That's the most common one. That is wrong, everybody. Okay, that is absolutely the wrong formula to do for this investment. Why? Because it's treating every dollar that you get in month one as the same dollar you get in month 210. They're not the same thing. In other words, it's completely ignoring the time value of money factor here.
That's it. A lot people don't understand time value of money.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not saying everybody.
yeah,
That's the hardest thing of being able for people to wrap their head around.
right. So think of it this way, everybody. If I needed $349 and change, and I came to you and said, hey, can I borrow that money and I'll pay you back next month? Pretty simple math. You'd probably say, okay, I'll give you the 349 bucks and change. Let's again use 350, make it simple. I'll give you the 350 bucks, and next month you pay me, I don't know, 360, 355. It'd be some small amount. Could we back into what that math is, what your return is if you invest $350 and get $360 back in 1 month and annualize that?
Yes.
Sure. Okay. But what if I change that up and say, I want to, give me the 350 bucks now, and I'll pay you back 350 bucks in 17 and a half years. Okay. Would any of you do that? Because if you do, please give me an email, and I would like to to borrow money from you because your thinking is wrong. Nobody would do that. Nobody would take $350, lend somebody $350 today and then get $350 back in 17 and a half years. Okay, because that's the time value of money. What is that 350 bucks going to buy you in 17 years? What was the opportunity cost you lost by investing that 350 bucks today? Right? We used to use examples of grocery, stores. How much groceries could you get for $350? How many carts could you fill up? All right. What about 5 years from now? Same amount of carts, that sort of thing. Okay. So time value of money is that erosion of the purchasing power over time. Okay. So that's what you have to consider. And that's what these formulas do. They backtrack that to say, well, what is each of those payments worth today? And based on our $30,000 investment, we can calculate the return on that. Okay. So time value of money, if none of that made sense to you, remember this. This return on investment formula, the very simple one that most people learn. What was the monthly income? How many months was that? A lot of times people do this on rent, right? They just go, here's the rent, here's the 12 months. They do the same formula. Okay. They take the profit from that. The payments times the number of payments is the 73,000. Sorry, the total $73,439. They take out what they invested, the 30 grand. That leaves a profit of $43,439. They divided that by the number of payments, and that comes out to 8% per year. No, it's not. It doesn't work. Okay, it's treating every dollar in month one as the same you get in 210. Okay, so that is the inaccurate formula to do that. So stop doing that, everybody. You are mathematically incorrect. Mistake number two, cash on cash return. Look, cash on cash return is used on other investments.
Yeah.
That's fine. So is the other return on investment formula. These are all formulas that are used, but you got to use the right formula for the right investments. Okay, so cash on cash return, you would say $349.71 times 12 equals $4,196. Okay, so that's what you made per year. We divide that by the $30,000 investment, you made 14%. Okay, now you'll notice cash on cash return shows a higher return in this example because the actual return is 12, what do we say? 12.36%. Cash on cash will actually overestimate it. Why? Because it's not considering the amortization, right? It's considering that your $30,000 balance that you invested stays the same forever through the investment. It does not. Because in reality, that note being amortized is part principal and part interest. So the principal is returned. So the 30,000 you have invested actually goes down in principal every single month by the portion of the monthly payment that was principal. Okay. So you can't do cash on cash return. You're going to artificially inflate what your returns are because you're not making 14% on this one cash on cash return because it is the wrong formula. It's not considering the return of principal over time. That should make sense to everybody. Okay. So not the right investment for that one. Other people look at simple payback, right? They're looking for that break even point. You know, if I invest $30,000, I divide that now by the monthly payment. That's 86 months at my break even point. We're buying 210 months, everybody. So again, it's ignoring the interest you're earning on the unpaid balance the whole time. Remember, your unpaid balance is going down every month by the principal amount. Okay, but your monthly payment is staying the same on that. So it tells you when you break even, but it doesn't say anything about the interest rate that you're earning the whole time. All right. You can look at your break even point, but you're really looking at the wrong thing because that $30,000 is going down every single month. So it's just a wrong calculation, everybody. And it's not how you look at these things. So those are the three most common mistakes that people make on the math. And just think of it this way, everybody. The only accurate way to measure return when buying in notes is through the yield internal rate of return method. That's it. Okay, that is the only accurate way. You can't. You're if that's not your understanding, you're arguing math incorrectly. All right, it handles everything: the timing of every single payment, your return of your principal over time, and the discount that you receive. That's why just that simple, again, I want to bring this back to simplicity. All we're doing, folks, is entering three variables to solve for the fourth. The calculator does all the heavy lifting. The calculator's doing the formula. It's considering all of those things, all of when the payments, the time value money, it's doing all that for you. All you got to do, tell it three things. What are you investing? What's the monthly payments for how many months? And then ask it to solve for yield. And that'll come out to 12.36%. So going back to that machine analogy, which I think is really a good way to visualize this. You put $30,000 into a money machine and it's spitting out $349.71 every month for 17 and a half years. Okay. The yield calculation tells you exactly what interest rate that machine is earning for you. Everything else is just a rough guess. It's going to mislead you. So total profit, cash on cash, all that stuff, those are rough guesses. It's going to mislead you. The only one that does this is the yield calculation and the internal rate of return. Okay. That's it. So when you buy a note, think of it that way. I'm buying this money printing machine. It's going to kick out this every year for the next 17 and a half years. Now, if the payment patterns change, if the loan is paid off early, those
Or they quit paying.
adjustments are going to be different when you do your actual return. Because remember, when you're looking at buying an investment, any investment, you're doing a projection, especially in the note business. I'm investing $30,000. I'm projecting that I'm going to get all of these payments on a timely basis for the next 17 and a half years. And that's what you base your calculation on. Now, if they make late payments, you might actually see that your yield, your true yield at the end of the year goes up. Why? Because they're paying late fees. If it pays off early, you'll see that your return actually goes up because you got all your money back a lot quicker. So if they pay early, they're going to start paying the principal down a little bit more. You're going to have to recalculate to what your actual returns are. So when you're looking at buying a loan, you're looking at what is the expected yield. Okay. At the end of the year, your servicing company is going to send you your tax forms that shows you exactly how much you got in principal, interest, and perhaps other fees, such as late fees. And then you can recalculate to see what the exact return was that particular year. Okay. But your projected remains the same. They might get right back on track. All right. So that's how we look at all of those. So I hope that
Good
cleared some
lesson.
things up for everybody. And
Good
again,
lesson.
if you need to go back and see those slides, check out the YouTube channel because I know that was a little math heavy, but gosh, you have to understand how to do that. It circles back, Dwayne, to what I always say, right? It's the math, but that's only one side of this. The other part's what?
The story.
The story. What's going on?
Yeah.
What's happening in this deal. So it's half of the equation that you've got to understand.
Yeah, and what I used to always hear is hard money lenders. Oh, I'm making better than I can in notes.
Hmm.
And it just conversation. Okay, what do you invest? What do you do?
Yeah.
And well, I deploy. I just did a hard money loan and I put out 50 grand, to someone. Oh, that's good. So it's all year. Well, no, I get it back typically in 3 months. Okay, so then that you got that 50 grand back. How much long? Well, it could be another 6 or 7 months before I have to deploy that money again. I said, well, let's look at it over a year. It's you didn't make your 16% or 18%. You got it back. Yes, you did, but you didn't deploy the money for the entire year. So recalculate that math. And so again, it's a math issue. A lot of people don't like math. They don't.
Yeah.
They see for it as it is because they just don't understand. It's just they just don't know.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you don't like math, your 10BII calculator that you use, that you've always used, that's the route to go. It's simple. It's very simple to learn.
Yeah, and if you're using AI, ask AI. I'm buying a note. Here's what the payment. It'll tell you, and it's going to use. Guess what? This same formula. So today it is easy. I mean, the math might be. You may not be a math person, and my argument would be you don't have to. You got to put in three things and solve for a fourth. Could you do that? And I think everybody can. Obviously do that, or you just have to ask AI, a question and it'll
Everybody's got
calculate that.
AI these
Yeah,
days.
it'll calculate the math for you. But it is a topic that comes up, all the time. Why do they calculate that? Because it's like it's just this because these are the variables in this. It's a different investment, and but that's how it's done. You're right, and I do like that with the hard money because again, it's a more active business and yeah, if you're only doing two loans with the same 50 grand per year, you got to really go back and say, well, what did I get? Because when your money wasn't working for you and sitting on the sidelines making nothing, you got to go in and calculate that, as well. And that's another thing too that leads to other topics that we talked about. I mean, that's just our yield if we keep and hold it. Like I said, the yield might go up if they pay off, if even if they're late, or we might sell a partial on a note. We might sell a split on a note. We might hypothecate on a note and increase our yields. Those are other things that we can do. So I like having my money in for long term. Um, and then if I want to, have a part of a portfolio and just say, well, let me cash out of some of those notes and I'll just own the back end for free and hit those later on, great. Then my returns are going to be, huge. If I'm getting money back on something I have no money in, now your whole calculation is different. Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. Um,
Good stuff.
yeah.
That was well needed. Probably another 6 months, I'd bring that up again. Good topic.
Well, good. All right, everybody. Well, good. I hope you enjoyed that, and I like the new time frame. Gives me a little time to get up, work out, and then put something together for you. Let's see. News for me. I guess I'm heading to Atlanta tomorrow. Actually, yep, heading to Atlanta tomorrow. Do a presentation up there, so I'm sure I'll have some stories for that for next Wednesday. So 10 o'clock now every Wednesday we'll do this, and I'll upload it to X. I'll upload it to YouTube, so you can watch them there as well. And don't forget the podcast also. So,
We have mentor meeting tonight.
oh yeah, for my existing students, yep,
Yep.
sure do. Tonight, 7 o'clock.
Special mentoring meeting that we do every other Wednesday for our existing students that are in our one-on-one or our elite done for you program. So that will be tonight at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, you got it. Excellent. All right. Visit kevinshortell.com, everybody. Schedule an appointment with Dwayne. Get on the phone. Let's get you started in the business. We're cranking out the notes right now. I've got three more deals just on a phone call. Somebody that I know in the business. Hey, somebody just called me. They've got, oh, sorry, four deals in North Carolina that they're selling. 20 to 40 grand is around the range of the note price.
Love it.
They own the notes for the last 10 years. I'm like, yep, send them this way. So we're cranking them out. So, all right, everybody, thanks for tuning in, and love to hear your comments, and hit the YouTube channel and like and subscribe as well. Thanks again. Thanks, Dwayne.
See ya. Bye.